Pick up a large and small flower pot to create this beautiful outdoor display. I'm starting with a really large pot, and I'm going to stack some smaller flower pots up in the center. Once I have the right height, now I can start adding some potting soil. In that soil, I'm going to plant some really colorful annuals. Now I'm going to take this white ceramic pot. I want to make sure that the hole is sealed in the middle. I'm just going to set this right on top of those pots that I stacked on the inside, and I'm going to fill it with water. Now I'm going to add this solar fountain that I found on Amazon. As soon as the sun hits this, the water is going to start bubbling up.
I ran to my local Walmart and grabbed 2 matching pots, one bigger than the other. First thing I did was level an area in the front that would be in direct sunlight and put the bigger pot in first. Next, I grabbed an old bucket upside down into the bigger pot. Make sure that it's centered. Next, I grabbed a flower pot base. I wanted to make sure that I turned it with the lip side down. We're going to take the smaller pot that we got and place it on the center of that pot. I want to grab some local rocks and place them around the edge. Next, I got out a new solar-powered fountain that I bought for $10. It floats in the water because it's got a float on the bottom, and it works great in direct sunlight. With this fountain comes some plastic spacers. What this does is make sure that the fountain stays in the center of the pot. Once you got it marked, you can go ahead and just trim it with a pair of scissors. Put some nice, clear water inside. Go ahead and place the fountain inside. Once the direct sunlight hits it, voila!
Grab a few terracotta pots and saucers. Start by applying clear spray sealant to the 14-inch saucer on both sides. You'll apply 2 coats and let it dry. Then drill a hole into the bottom of the 7-inch saucer and the 6-inch pot. Use a round file to file 4 notches in the lip of the 6-inch pot, then file 4 notches in the lip of one of the 5-inch saucers and 1 notch in the lip of the 7-inch saucer. Place the fountain pump on the 14-inch saucer and place the 6-inch pot upside down over it to cover, making sure the cord runs through one of the openings. Slide the fountain tubing up through the hole and set it on top of the pot and seal with the silicone sealer. Let dry overnight. Take the 5-inch saucer with the 4 notches and place it upside down on top of the tubing to cover. Turn the 4-inch pot upside down and place it next to the 6-inch pot. Notch the second 5-inch saucer and place it on top of the 4-inch pot. Place the third 5-inch saucer upside down next to the 4-inch pot. Notch the fourth 5-inch saucer and place it on top. Fill the 14-inch saucer with water, plug in the fountain, and turn it on.
As DIYers, we all know nothing is better than making something with your own 2 hands.
But what if you want to learn something new and just don't know where to start? Thanks to today's sponsor, Craftsy, your new hobby is just one click away.
Craftsy is an online resource for all things creative. They offer more than 2,000 exciting classes in over 20 popular categories like painting, paper crafts, cake decorating, gardening, and woodworking.
Classes are broken down into easy-to-follow lessons led by award-winning instructors giving step-by-step demonstrations.
I knew my first class had to be brush lettering. This technique can be used on decor, signs, on cards and envelopes, but I didn't really know where to start. After a quick search on Craftsy, I found Chris Lim-Chin's lesson. I gathered my supplies, started watching, and 10 minutes later, I was already writing. There are so many classes I can't wait to try, like flower arranging, embroidery, and advanced baking. It's a good thing Craftsy is always creating new classes to help you stay inspired and try something new.
The first 1,000 of you to click the link in the video description below will get a full year of premium Craftsy for just $1.49. So thanks to Craftsy for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the DIYs.
You are going to run for the plant pot shelves when you see how enchanting this idea turned out. I'm stuffing some paper inside a medium pot to catch any potential drips. I'm applying silicone to the bottom of the plant pot along all the holes. The bottom tray is being siliconed, then pressed back onto the bottom of the pot until it clicks into place. The silicone is also being applied to any inside holes. I'm applying hot glue to the bottoms of both the small and medium pots, then holding them together until the glue sets. Container garden soil is being added. Flowers are being planted into the soil. The empty top bucket is getting filled up with water. I'm opening up a solar water fountain, which will be the key element to this feature.
I grabbed 2 flower pots of different sizes from Dollar Tree. I used 150 grit sandpaper to lightly scuff up the surface. Then I applied silicone to a plastic lid and attached it to the bottom of the smaller pot. I siliconed all the way around the lid edge to create a waterproof seal. While it was drying, I grabbed some Rust-Oleum stone textured spray paint. I spray painted the outside of both pots and around the inside edge and let it dry overnight. After the spray paint dried, I mixed ready-mix concrete in a separate bucket, following the directions on the bag. I carefully placed the wet concrete in the larger bucket. I placed a large rock in the middle to help take up space. The concrete filled the bucket about 1/3 full. I used a scrap piece of 2x4 to tamper down the concrete to get rid of any bubbles and smooth it all out. After the concrete dried, I placed a plastic container in the middle so the smaller pot would sit higher up. I grabbed some garden bed pots from the recycling and used them to fill out the space and added river rock to cover the recycling. I washed another handful of river rock, placed them inside the small pot, and filled it with water. Lastly, I added this solar fountain, and it was a sunny day, so it started working immediately.
I headed over to my local Home Depot and grabbed a water spigot that goes on the outside of your house. Want to make sure that the flow of the water goes straight down. We're going to grab a 2-foot long, 1/2-inch acrylic pipe. Next, we're going to take a drill, and we've got to drill about 6 to 8 holes around the edges. Drill all the way around and about a 1/2 inch away from the top of the hose. Once we get all the holes drilled, want to make sure that it's going to fit inside the spigot. We're going to grab some 2-part epoxy. Then what you're going to do is put it on the end of the tube. Do not cover the holes. That's important. Go ahead and grab your spigot and stick it inside where the water comes out. Once the glue dries, it's on there and it's solid. Now, the water fountain, make sure it has a good seal. Take some plumber's tape, wrap it around, make sure it fits on the tube. If it's a little too loose, add some more. If it's too tight, take some off. Next, I grabbed a planter and put it up by the front door. Put some bricks in the bottom because I don't want the pump on the very bottom of the planter. Next, I need to drill a hole on the side of the bucket where the plug can go through. Then before we put the fountain in, put it on a medium setting and go ahead and place it inside. Use 2 bricks to kind of snug it on there and then another 2 to hold it in place. Next, take the plug, put it through the hole that we drilled, pull it all the way through because we're going to grab some clear silicone. This is going to seal the hole so that no water can get out. I went ahead and sprayed it with some black paint afterwards just so it'll blend in. Put the rock in. Use some river rock if you can, and once you got it all in there, you're going to put some water in.
So for the first step, go ahead and spray paint the planters. You'll need marine epoxy and protective gloves to seal all of the holes in your large planter and let it all dry according to the directions. Next, you're going to need some plastic tubing to drill holes in the small and medium planter only. The largest saucer should have the hole in the middle as well as smaller drainage holes all over the surface. Take your plastic tubing and put it on the top of your fountain pump. Place the pump at the bottom of your planter. Then feed the tubing up through the hole in the large saucer and place that saucer on top. Continue feeding the tubing through the medium planter. Next, add the medium saucer, then the small planter, and finally the small saucer. Cut the excess plastic tubing with sharp scissors. I went ahead and prepped this piece. The next step is to take the metal file and make long, deep gouges along the entire length of the PVC. And you can see the wood grain detail here. Go about 5 inches down from the top and make a mark, and then turn your PVC about a 1/4 turn. Go another 5 inches down from that and make another mark. Continue doing this all the way down to the bottom of the PVC. Take your drill and you're going to drill at each of those holes all the way down. As you can see, every 5 inches, every corner turn, I've got a hole. Get some stain on your fingers, and you're going to rub the stain into all of the scratches and grooves on here. Once you've got the stain on, take your paper towel, and you're going to lightly rub the excess. And as you wipe off, you're leaving a lighter tint on top. You're leaving the darker stain in the grooves and scratches, and it really brings out this wood detail. Take the PVC, put it in the very middle of your drip tray, and draw around the PVC so you make a circle. This is going to give us a template to cut out where the PVC is going to fit in. I'll use a box cutter and I'll cut that circle out. So here's what the drip tray is going to look like after you've cut out the circle. We're also going to use the box cutter to make slices in the small cups. So you're going to start with the bottom. You're going to poke through and make several slices in the bottom. Then you're also going to do some triangular cuts along all sides. So here's what a finished one will look like. This is going to help hold the cup inside the PVC, and it's also going to provide some great drainage. So take your larger drill bit and you're going to put a hole right in the middle here. Then you're going to take your smaller drill bit and you're going to drill holes all over the surface. This is going to allow the drainage of the water. Take your coupling and your super glue and the 2-inch test cap. You're going to glue this right down into the middle of the test cap. Now this is going to help water from coming up and out of the top of the piece. This is a 4-inch plastic Christmas ornament, and you're going to glue that to the top with the super glue as well. Now once the glue is fully dried, you can spray paint the entire piece. Work your adapter onto the end of your tubing. Okay, let's put this project together. So the first step is to take your plastic tubing and you're going to feed it down through the top of your PVC. You're going to pull it down all the way to the bottom hole that you drilled. Then stick it in the planter and then take your pond pump and you're going to connect your pond pump to the adapter at the bottom of your tubing. So I've attached the adapter to the top of the pond pump, and I've also angled the pond pump so that way the top goes inside this PVC hole. So that way the tubing won't get any kinks as it goes up the PVC. Next, take your box cutter and cut the excess tubing from the top. Then take the 4-inch test cap and run the tubing through that middle hole. And then fit the test cap down into the PVC. Then take your drip tray, fit it over the top, and run it all the way back down to the bottom. And take your finial, and that should fit nicely on top. Your cups can then fit into the holes. Now if you have small plants that don't weigh a lot, you can leave these like this. But if you've got heavier plants that you need these angled just a little bit, you can bend the cups and they'll pop nicely inside so you've got a little bit more of an angle. So that way the plants can grow up and out. Okay, let's add some water and I'll show you how this works. As you can see, the water travels up the tubing and rains down into the PVC through all of these smaller holes. Don't glue down the test cap or finial so you can remove them later and clean inside if needed. Once the water gets to the bottom, the pump will cycle it back up to the top for continuous watering.